Uber is the rideshare service providing an alternative to taxis and limos that's taking the nation by storm. This past week, Uber raised another $1.2 billion, placing its value at more than $40 billion. But Uber has not been without problems, including criminal allegations against drivers in multiple cities. So, how safe is it for you to ride with Uber? Here with everything you need to know, lifestyle lawyer Shari O. All right, so give us an idea, really, of where we're at with all of this.
Sure. Well, there have been allegations, you know, in the news of rape and assault, drivers inappropriately contacting passengers after the ride, and of course Uber violating local rules, which really goes to the primary difference, Ashley, between a taxi cab and a limo versus Uber, because taxis and limos are clearly transportation companies. They're governed by the local government, highly regulated, permits, licensing, inspections. Uber claims it's a technology company, not subject to that. But we also have differences in pricing, because a taxi has a meter, limos have hourly rates. Uber's pricing is less transparent. And then, of course, you've got issues with the drivers, because they're part-time drivers, less knowledge of the roads and traffic patterns, and of course they have access to your first and last name, your cell phone number, information that taxi cab drivers just don't have.
It's really such an interesting discussion happening right now, even in our area, we know. But what does Uber do to protect passengers and the public? How does this all work?
Sure. Well, they do extensive background checks on the drivers. But the thing is that it's a for-profit company. The checks are done by a for-profit company versus government checks, which can take as long as 8 weeks. The Uber checks take about 2 days, supposedly. The company also has policies, so drivers can't have had prior violations. Cars can't be more than 10 years old, for example. There are insurance requirements. But the thing is, we know, for example, in this rape case that was reported in New Delhi this past weekend, that driver had a prior rape conviction or sexual assault conviction. Right. It wasn't caught. We also know, I just came back from New York City, for example, you've got cars driving around that have Uber signs and are soliciting rides, soliciting passengers. You don't know if they're Uber drivers or not. And we've heard cases of Uber drivers actually contracting non-approved Uber drivers to handle some of their rides. So clearly some of those procedures and policies are not working.
So, of course, you always advocate for us to protect ourselves. Be your own advocate.
Absolutely.
Talk to us about that.
Well, in this case, there are some tips that you can use to protect your first of all, don't ever take a non-solicited Uber ride. It's against the policy and it's just not smart. But when you check, when you call and book your Uber ride, you can check the driver's ratings to make sure that their ratings, are number 5, the highest level that they can get. Also, it's a good idea to MapQuest where you're going if you're not sure of the route. Check the roads, signs, the names, and the duration times, and stay alert during the ride so that you know what's happening. It's also a good idea, if possible, to always ride with a buddy. Now, when that's not possible, you can text them the license number and the driver and when you should arrive, so at least someone's going to know if you're not there when you're supposed to be. And check the driver's license and photo when they get there to make sure that they match up and it's the right guy.
All very good tips. And again, like you said, using MapQuest, just paying attention to make sure you're on the right route.
Right. Well, that's what happened with this woman in New Delhi. She fell asleep during the ride, and the driver ended up taking her to a remote place and sexually assaulted her. So obviously it wasn't her fault, but she might have been able to intervene sooner if she had stayed alert.
Well, thank you as always with the helpful information. We want to send things now to Holony.
Thanks, Ashley. Right now, a man who escaped from prison in Georgia